Greetings and welcome back to Cedar Circle, the neighborhood I grew up in, recreated in Minecraft. It has been 6 months, almost 7 months since I put out a video in this series. And it's just because modern day life has been very difficult, taken a lot of different twists and turns on me. But I was in the mood to get back to exploring where I lived and played and thrived as a child. And today I did some visiting to this area in person. I'm going to save that video until I have some more of this world done. But I thought I would reorient you very quickly, and then I'll show you something that I built somewhere between December and now, but never filmed. And then we'll make a little more progress, I think. So this is the house I grew up in. This is the yellow house, single family ranch home. As you can see, all the houses, everything in here is on a strange angle. It's because, I used actual topographical data through a website tool called GeoBoxers. And it put the streets on this angle, so I thought I would just be true to the true north, south, east, west of the roads and build everything on the same kind of angles, whatever angle it is. Now, if I would have started this project from scratch and built the streets myself, this would have all been straight, and there's no doubt to me that, you know, this all would have been perfectly straight through here. The school would have been perfectly straight and rectangular, like proper Minecraft builds, but this was the way I chose to do it. And I am also building in Minecraft scale, which means that every block is a meter. So if you can imagine that this wall is a meter thick in between these two rooms, this wall or this wall is a meter thick, where in real life it would be like, what, a couple inches? So I'm basically losing room in these rooms to decorate, and I'm limited to the blocky scale of Minecraft, which is fine with me because I'm getting enough for the detail. Another thing I'm doing is, like, my home here and immediate homes to the side of me, the places that I used to go a lot, spend significant time, are well decorated. As I get further away from my specific house, or houses where I only was maybe there once or twice, they're going to be less and less detailed. They're going to be just vague colors and shapes of houses. And I suspect at some point I'll flush out some of the rest of the neighborhood. I'm even thinking of doing like glass housing, where it's just a shadow of a house. So kind of, if you were to think of this as you're walking through my physical memories, the pieces that I have the highest memories of are very detailed, and it gets vaguer as it goes out. You also have anomalies like this is all sort of summer and maybe spring and fall, and then suddenly we have a snowy area winter, because this ditch here that we used to sled down, it was in my last episode, 2 episodes ago actually, was where we used to play in the winter, and we used to sled. And again, if I were doing this in pure Minecraft fashion, I would have probably started from the willow trees and made a straight ditch, but then it would have come too close to the school, and it's really supposed to be on this angle here. Okay, so what I want to show you today, that's kind of where we're at a very high level. And here is where I've been making some progress. So this back here will be a line of houses. I haven't built these in yet because I was really focused on trying to get as much of this landscaping stuff done and using MC Edit to help me out, because as far as I know, MC Edit, is that right? I think it was MC Edit. That external tool doesn't, or at least when I was doing this, didn't work. Oh, whoops. Didn't work with Minecraft 1.13. Before I lose the power of that, I wanted to finish certain detailing with the tools that I have. And then these I can build in 1.14 now, is what we're on, without any problems. Okay, so this section back here will be houses, and then there's this hill which goes up and around this sort of clearing area here. Now the story with this section is that this, when I was really young, I was young enough that I wasn't allowed to come this far without my parents knowing, but being the explorer kid that I was, I walked all the way over here, and I was by myself. I don't remember why or what day it was, but I remember the first time I came around here, and I found this baseball diamond. This baseball diamond with really red clay. It was like red, and there's a big chain link backstop here. I thought it was really cool, and I wanted to walk on the baseball diamond, and so I started walking across this red clay, and the clay was really wet, and I sunk with my white gym shoes on. I sunk into the clay like almost up to my ankles, and I probably took like 3 steps in, and then I was like sliding and losing my footing, and I saw the reddish ground come up over my feet, and I like tromped out and then like tried to shake all the red off, and I couldn't get all the red off, and I went home and had to take the garden hose and hose off my shoes. I always remember that. I never got to really play on this baseball field, but the one time I tried to walk on it, I sunk into it. So another vibrant memory in my mind. I hope it comes across okay in this video. And the other weird thing about this, I remember once my mom and I walking around the trail with pushing my baby sister or my young sister in a stroller. This is like random one odd hill here, and this hill is still here till today. And on top of the hill is a single tree, and I have no real idea why the hill is there or why the tree is there. Sorry, I saw the tree today, and it's actually more on this side of the hill than that side. But I remember as a kid, this tree had apples in it. And we stopped and we picked some apples, and I don't remember if I ate or if my mom let me eat an apple from this tree or not, but I remember it was a tree with apples. And back here, parallel to this path, was a small creek, and it again backed up. Imagine there's a row of houses, like where my cursor is now is probably the back of someone's fence. And this was a sewer pipe, so this sewer pipe would collect all the water from these houses and dump it out, and it would go, well, probably into this potato land here, this reclamation. I don't know what this was back then, Park District. And on the far side over there was a collection from here, and over here there's a collection from these houses. So all of these houses around this field all drained into these creeks. And this one here, I remember me and one or two of my friends kind of walking around the trail and just randomly seeing a bunch of kids over here. At the time, there was no trees or anything. This was just kind of open. And the kids were up on this top of this cement wall. And then the creek was very deep here and very clear water for some reason. It didn't stink. It seemed like just perfectly fine water to us kids, but I think it was sewage water. And they were jumping off and doing like cannonballs and then swimming out, and they were just playing in this water. And my friends and I were so fascinated, and we came and we were standing here like right about this close, watching them and applauding their jumps and their cannonballs and their spins. And they were, clambering out, and this area was getting muddier and muddier. And they were like, come on, jump in, play. And we were like, no, we're not sure. We're not supposed to play in the creek. Even though we used to do it in our creek. But for some reason, we didn't want to do it in this creek. But I always remember that this creek back here was for the kids that lived over here. and they were just swimming it. And they had, this part here was so much deeper than ours, like they could actually swim in this part of the creek, whereas our creek was always shallow. And even this lake here, it was like maybe up to your knees, although I think in the middle it probably was deeper, but at least around the outsides, as far as we ever went in it, walked in it with our waterproof boots on, was only about up to our knees. And same with this creek back through here. I apologize if I showed this, but this area back in here, yeah, I'm pretty sure I talked about this already. This area back in here is where John told me there was underground tunnels with scuba tanks to keep the air pressure holding them up. Here's the top of the hill where we used to crawl underneath and go into potato land and follow this path. Or, yeah, I'm pretty sure I talked about this bridge, didn't I? In how we used to think that there was like a ferry door under here that at certain times of day could lead you to another land. And we used to see big fish. And if you followed the creek over to here, you could actually go under the fence. There was a gap and into potato land, which was like a park district area. And then as long as you stayed down, like here were some buildings, you could stay out of view. Or what we used to do is we used to immediately go up this way so that the trees would screen us from view. And back in here, I remember there were things like old mattresses and the remains of campfires, and some teenagers or maybe even adults, who knows, left like some bottles laying around, empty glass bottles and all kind of random detritus. And if you ever came through here alone, you either felt like you were being watched or like something was going to jump out at you. It was a really kind of grayish, spooky area, to be honest. So I didn't like to go through here very much alone, but it was always like, when you're on this side of the fence, there's some mystery back there. It's gated off, and kids aren't supposed to go in there. There must be something really cool in there, and you really felt like you were having an adventure if you went in there. And then across the bridge, in the later years, not in the early years, but at some point the Park District, which will be up here eventually, built a soccer field back here. And this is where my sister had soccer practice. And I was in an older league. I had soccer practice at one of the middle schools. But I remember riding my bike all the way up here to watch her soccer practice once or twice. And probably ride back home with her, I think. It's probably one of my chores. This here, now again, I don't have all this detail in that will be coming, but this patch here will be grassy. And there's this area of clay here, randomly. There's actually like a small water divot here. But one day, we were just randomly coming out from where we lived, way over here, and we came down this path, and we were just walking this way. I don't know what we were doing. And on this clay, we saw two moles, two little animals, mostly blind, you know, bare tails, gray fur. We just found two moles here, and we caught them in something, I don't remember what, and we brought them home and we put them in a shoebox, and we had two moles for pets for just a couple days, and we had no clue how to take care of them. Like, we threw some grass in there with them, we gave them water, and they weren't very active. They were very like sluggish, but they were definitely alive. And I don't really remember how long we kept them. It wasn't very long. And we took them all the way back out here, and we placed them back down on the ground. And we said, you know, we should let them free. We don't really know how to take care of these moles properly. I remember there was like some little pebbles in this otherwise pretty bare clayish path. And we let the moles go. And then for whatever reason, we thought, you know, we were doing them a favor by letting them go or whatnot. And we came back like I don't know, a day or two later, and they were, you know, we left them just on the terrain, and they were completely gone. The moles had either wandered away or had been taken away perhaps by some predator. I don't know, but I'm putting this other color in now to kind of symbolize, like, there was sort of like a water runnel, like maybe an inch, half inch deep, where like the water runoff, obviously at some point maybe there was some flooding back here, and then it drained from one end of this clay area, perhaps this direction, off towards this off towards this creek. And perhaps this is where the water just kind of pooled from this way and this way into this lower depression section here. So it looks kind of like an ugly scar on the land, but it wasn't really ugly. It was just a random biome in the middle of the field. Here's another cool feature. I don't remember if I talked about this. I feel like I did, but I have it in my notes that I still need to film this. So a little bit ways down from the ditch where we used to sled was a path that just went down this hill and off to the trails. And when you're a kid, you used to ride your bike down this, and you could pick up a lot of speed. You could get going really fast. And then there was this part of the trail that went up and over two big giant metal corrugated pipes for the water. And you could take your bike and you could jump off of this slope here, and then because there was a depression in the middle and then down, you could get some really good air and jump all the way to about here. This is like a really far way to jump on a mountain bike, or a BMX bike. That's probably a better term for them. And you'd have to get enough speed to really jump that far. And I remember this one time we were sitting over here. Right here was a park bench. So we're gonna add this park bench in. And we're sitting on the park bench, and one of our friends, or one of our neighbors, I should say, he was a lot younger than us, came over here. Now this was like a metal park bench. Yeah, that's way too high up in the air. That don't look good. That don't look good. You can't really put it in the middle. That's the one thing about Minecraft. You can't always do exactly what your brain envisions. So I think we're going to do this. That is going to be my approximation of a metal park bench. Anyway, we're sitting on this bench, and one of our friends, Bobby McDonald, had his bicycle. We walked for some reason, and he had no shirt on, by the way, and probably no shoes if I remember him correctly. He just had his dirty BMX bike, and he came flying down this hill, and you could see him weaving a little bit, like his handlebars were not so steady, and we like, I remember having this bad feeling. And he comes down here, and he went so high up in the air, like he pulled up with his legs on the seat, and in the midair he started tipping forward, and he landed on the front tire, which went sideways, and he went flipping head over handlebars, and just completely wiped out. And I remember us all like screaming and running to him. He was like badly injured. I don't really remember much after that, except that we basically all picked him up, and somebody dragged his bike, and the rest of us picked him up like by his arms and legs and carried him all the way back home, which was pretty far for little kids, and brought him back to his house. And I really don't remember what happened after that, but this was his house here. and presumably there was a gate somewhere, maybe right here. And we took him into to his parents. And I really don't remember, but he was really badly banged up. And that was probably like, you put a damper on a lot of us doing the bike jump.